Hello and Assalamualaikum, Dr. Azira. My name is Abrisam Iyad bin Ahmad SABRI and I am a group leader of Group 5. We are going to discussing about employee discipline, and this is all of our group members. First of all, me, Abrisam Iyad bin Ahmad SABRI. Second, Muhammad Ammar KHASHAH bin Muhammad SHAHNY, and then ARIFF FAHMI bin Muhammad SALLEH. Also, Muhammad AYMAN bin NASIR, and lastly, Muhammad ALIFF IMRAN bin BADRUL HISHAM. And our content in this discussion is introduction, disciplinary issue, that is bullying, sexual harassment and absenteeism. Then disciplinary approach, that is contain warning, suspension and termination, and also the implication towards the organization, employee and work. And lastly is conclusion.
Assalamualaikum and greetings to Dr. Azira and my fellow friends. Right now, I will present the introduction of our group topic discussion, which is employee discipline. One of the key qualities that a professional employee must possess in order to thrive in life is discipline. Employee discipline is an important aspect in order for an employee to be successful in both of their personal and professional life. By having the quality of employee discipline in individual self, this personnel will succeed more quickly than those who lack discipline. The employee discipline will ensure proper conduct from every employee, which will contribute to upholding professionalism. Other than that, employee discipline will conclude to respect and trust amongst workers, managers, supervisors and every individual in organisation. This can be seen as positive interactions among all group members. By prioritizing the employee discipline, the responsible, safe behaviour at work and self-control of employee can be achieved. There are many main objectives of employee discipline, such as encourage of employees to follow the performance criteria of the company. Then, encourage people to work more productively and with higher morale. Next, encourage the increase of productivity, helps behavior correction and protect the organisation image and its employees. The employee discipline is an organisation advantage, and organisation employees will feel more at ease to working there if there is an effective employee discipline code in place. Discipline is necessary when there are possibility that the employees may act inappropriately in some circumstance. That's all from me now. I will pass the presentation to the next presenter, which is Mr. Iyad. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Abrisam Iyad bin Ahmad SABRI. I will explain about disciplinary issue, that is bullying. Bullying is an aggressive behavior in which one person purposefully and repeatedly harm and discomfort to another. Bullying has a lot of factors such as gender differences, age differences, race differences, position and experience. Also, it have a lot of types. As we know, physical bullying, verbal bullying, cyberbullying. The factors and the types are interrelated. The types will happen in various factors, and the factors will happen in various types. I will give you some examples. The physical bullying and age different factors. An older employee asks the younger employee to do their work. If he do not complete the work, he will get beaten. And another situation, a group of employee just without a purpose hit their colleagues. This is wrong. Second, verbal bullying and experience also position factors. This is normal in the workplace that will be happen. A higher position and expert employee that have a lot of experience will accumulating and underestimating the new employee. If we in the new employee position, you will be upset, stress and depression. This is also an unhealthy environment in the workplace. The last one, cyberbullying and gender difference. As we know, cyberbullying always happen in the media social like WhatsApp, Instagram and Facebook. And usually, women will do this thing because they don't brave to talk in front to front, and they will use this application to express their words. They will mocking, talk back, saying inappropriate things in the status WhatsApp or story Instagram. This will raise some issue in the workplace soon. So, don't ever involve in the cyberbullying.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to my respected lecturer Dr. Azira. Today, my name is Muhammad Ammar KHASHAH bin Muhammad SHAHNY and my matric number is 2022-90609. Today, I'm going to continue the presentation that have been presented by Abrisam Iyad to our next presentation, which is 2.2 Sexual Harassment. Well, you might be wondering, what is sexual harassment? Sexual harassment is a serious manifestation and sex discrimination and violation of human rights, which is addressed in the context of the ILO discrimination. ILO stands for International Labour Organizations. Who is the victims of sexual harassment? Anyone can be a victim of sexual harassment, but it is often based on the abuse of power, and reported cases are usually committed against women and perpetrated by men. Well, what is types of victims from women? The first is low socioeconomics women, indigenous women, women from ethnic minorities. Fourthly is women migrant workers. Fifthly is women with disabilities, and lastly is young women. Well, what can cause sexual harassment? Often less about sexual interest and more about reinforcing existing power relations. Usually, it is traditional gender roles and stereotypes of how men and women should act and replicated in the world of work. When impact that can be seen on the world of work based on sexual harassment is two. Firstly is impact on pay and career progression. Secondly is impact on occupational segregation. Well, what is the way to prevent sexual harassment in the world of work? It is important to build inclusive and supportive workplace where it is clear that sexual harassment is not tolerated. Other than that, dismantle the culture of impunity that often surrounds it, as well as the gender, cultural, and social norms that support violence and harassment. Lastly, how to protect sexual harassment through law. Action against sexual harassment in the world of work requires an inclusive, integrated, and gender-responsive approach, and legislative gaps need to be closed to ensure that effective prevention of and protection against sexual harassment. That's all from me for now. Thank you. I'm going to pass the presentation next to ARIFF. Thank you, Doctor.
Assalamualaikum Dr. Azira. My name is FAHMI bin Muhammad Salih. My matrix numbers is 2022-846398. So today I will presenting to you the third disciplinary issue in the workplace, that is absenteeism. What is absenteeism? Absenteeism is habitual absence from work for one or more days, usually because medically authorized, but in fact because of personal interest and a weak sense of responsibility from the employee itself. Absenteeism will have a bad effect to the company, colleagues, and even the organization. So the next part that I will discuss in this discussion is the factor of absenteeism. The first factor of absenteeism is family-related problems. For example, parents who are working are forced to take decision to go on leave if there is no nanny to take care of their child. This will continue for several days, which will cause the employee have poor attendance level at the company. So the second factor of absenteeism is bad working condition. So bad working condition will cause employees more stress and not motivated to go to work. So the next part I will discuss the impact of absenteeism. The first impact of absenteeism is it will reduce individual productivity in the workplace. So the second impact of the absenteeism is it will give negative effects on team performance in a company. For example, the employee at the workplace left to make up for the work not done by the absent workers. It will cause the dissatisfaction among the colleagues of the company. So the last impact of absenteeism is it will is higher cost of company to operate. So I think that's all from now from me. I will give space to the next presenter to discuss about other parts of this assignment. Thank you.
Now, I will explain about disciplinary approach that is warning. It is part of the progressive disciplinary process used by organizations, which gives offender the chance to change their behavior before dismissing them. There are two ways of warning. First, verbal warning. Employer verbally informs an employee that in the event that their work behavior or actions within the workplace don't change or improve, the employee may face further action or several sanctions. Before the meeting with the offender, the employer, the manager must collect the evidence first. Then during the meeting, they must discussing about these things. And after the meeting, the manager needs to have the verbal warning form as a why the employee was warned. Secondly, written warning. It is form of a document to inform an employee at their conduct generally, their actions in the workplace, and their possible repercussions if they do not change their behavior. The written warning will be given if the employee still commit the offence even after have been warned verbally. Before the written warning will be given, it is must have approved by the higher authorities and have a solid evidence. And if the employee still commit after the first written warning, they will be given second written warning. And they still commit after the second written warning, they will be given the final written warning. Why? This is because the employer want to give a chance to them to improve their behavior, to improve their disciplinary behavior. And if they still commit it, they will have a further punishment, whether it is suspension or termination.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Dr. Azira. We've met again. So I'm going to continue the presentation on disciplinary approach on point 3.2, suspension. While you might be wondering, what is meant to suspend an employee? If you suspect your employee of unacceptable behavior, you may find it appropriate to temporarily suspend them from work while you carry out an investigation. This means your employee still works for you but isn't allowed to go to their place of work or engage in any work for you from home. This means that they didn't have any access to your company or can do any type of work forms from you or any of the employee. Well, you might be wondering, why would you need to suspend an employee? The first one is allegation of gross misconduct. Secondly is medical grounds, and thirdly is workplace risk to an expectant mother. Well, that is the second point. Thirdly is, what is gross misconduct? The first one is intoxication, which means abusing of alcohol or drugs. Secondly, fighting or physical abuse. Thirdly, indecent or lewd behavior. Fourthly, theft. Fifthly, fraud. And lastly is sabotage. Well, you might also be asking question when you will suspend an employee, when you want to suspend it, when you want to suspend him, like, okay, he should suspend it later, you are being suspended, when you need to do this. Well, more often than not, an issue of gross misconduct isn't black and white. So when allegations arise against an employee, it's essential that employees not act too hastily. To avoid this, companies conduct investigation when these allegations arise. During investigation, if keeping the employee in question at the workplace can endanger others or impede the investigation, they are often suspended. Well, as we all know, issue of gross misconduct isn't really based. They didn't have any evidence. They didn't have any solid evidence. So in a way, the company or human resources, they must conduct an investigation, a thorough investigation to find out what exactly happens among the co-workers. With this, they're collecting evidence, collecting perspective from others, they're collecting more solid evidence to make sure that the employee is in fact do a gross misconduct activities in the companies. Because if they didn't do if they didn't really come up with approval, with a solid with a solid way why they are suspended, why they are being terminated, well, sometimes the company can be lawsuit. The company can be against in court, because every worker, every employee, they have rights in any ways possible. So to be more clear and to be more have a safe step or prepare an umbrella before rain, they must conduct a thorough investigation to make sure this allegation is right. So finally, let's get to what is the process for suspending an employee. Well, to suspend employee, the first way is set behavioral expectation. Secondly, consult any applicable laws. Thirdly, make a plan. Fourthly, notify the employee. Fifthly, put any security measures in place. And lastly, work to end the suspension as quickly as possible. Well, from 6 of the steps or processes, every employer must follow to make sure that the suspending process can be done smoothly, in ensuring that no issues can be arise in the future. That's all from me for now, Dr. Azira. Thank you for this presentation, and I'm going to give the presentation to the next presenter. Thank you.
So back to me, Dr. Azira. My name is FAHMI bin Muhammad Saleh. So on this slide, I will presenting to you what the disciplinary approach that will done by a company to control disciplinary issue in a company. So my point in this slide is termination. So what is termination? Termination is approaches that taken by the company or organization to terminate a contract or agreement with an employee who has disciplinary problems. So there are many reasons for employees termination in a company. So I think one of the reason the employee termination in a company is employee himself have severe absenteeism problem at work. So the next reason is employee have done severe disciplinary misconduct such as bullying other colleagues or carry out sexual harassment to other colleagues. So I think these are the one of the reason for a company to terminate the employee contract or agreement from the company. So I think the termination is quite difficult and rigid process for employer and employee. So there are termination law in Malaysia. So the company cannot terminate the employee without any concrete reason in Malaysia. In Malaysia, we have Employment Act 1955 that will protect employee and employer in termination process from any injustice in the process. According to Section 15 of the Act, an employee is regarded to have breached his contract of service with his employer if he is continually absent from work for more than 2 working days without previous leave from his employer, unless the employee have valid reason for that situation. So I think the termination process is the one of the important approaches that must done by a company to prevent disciplinary issue in the organization. So I think that's all from me for this slide. I will pass this presentation to Mr. Alif Imran for discussing the next topic. Thank you, madam.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Muhammad Alif HISHAM and my matrix number is 2022847474, and today I will be discussing about impacts on organization. The bad impacts on the organization is the company will be less productive and the reputation of the company will be damaged. The next one is the cost to replace the workers is high because the company have to pay double the or triple the salary, because it's not fair if they get paid the same amount but doing double or triple the work, because they have to cover the absentee workers. The good impact is anyone that commit any type of disciplinary issue will get punished no matter what their ranking is in the company, and this will make the company look more concerned about their staff and their performance. This also will automatically make the organization become more productive, and it will boost the organization image because there is no problem in the workplace. We go next to impacts on the employee. The bad impacts on the employee is it can cause the victim to feel depressed and unmotivated to go to work because their colleagues always bully or sexual harassing them at work. Moreover, it left the victim feel worthless and scared to meet their colleagues, and it can decrease the productivity of the employee themselves. They also will have problems to work in groups because they are scared of people in the groups. The good impacts on the employee is the victim will feel safe because they know that there is rule that can punish the offender or the bullying. With this being implemented, there will be much more secure and harmony work environment because the bully and the offender has been fired from the job. And lastly, they will be more careful if they want to bully or sexual harassing someone because the rule is strict and it shows no mercy or double standard towards anyone else. Lastly, impacts on work. There are bad impacts on work. The work itself will be on hold or the work quality will be reduced because the person that got bullied or absent or got sexually harassed are more focused on themselves than the work that they're supposed to do. The other workers that have to cover them is not creative enough or is already tired, hence why the work is not good enough. The good impacts though, they will not be absent from work anymore because with the rules they will feel safe on doing their work in peace so that they will not procrastinate their work anymore. This rule will cause a non-toxic and enjoyable work environment so that everyone can focus more on their work rather than worrying about getting bullied. It can also prevent any sort of issues from the get-go or from the earliest stage of it happening because the boss can see from the gestures of their employee who is getting bullied and who is the bully. That is all from me.
Hi again, my name is Muhammad bin NASIR, and now I will continue the presentation with the conclusion. To summarize all things being said in this topic of discussion, it is clear that the employee discipline is an important domain in terms of work scope. Employee discipline is an important aspect to have in one's personality to success in their personal and professional life. If there are no discipline among the employees, it will cause several disciplinary issues such as bullying, sexual harassment and absenteeism. In this topic of discussion, has also been stated that disciplinary approach to overcome the issue, which is warnings, verbal warning, written warning, suspension, and the last one is termination. The suitable and efficient ways to overcome these issues need to be done. When there are efficient ways constructed by the higher ups of the organization, it will be a factor for the improvement of productivity of the organization. The workers will be more productive and give their best outcome of service. And last but not least, the employee discipline can be achieved. That's all for this topic discussion. Thank you.